I'm Tom Buckley, and this is my individual research presentation for my dissertation. My chosen area of research is an observation into Stanley Kubrick's work and the editing processes and practices that influence his work. This is the title for my dissertation, and I think it's interesting. I think it explains what the paper will contain. I think it's a good title. I think it's strong. And one of the reasons that I wanted to do this was because Stanley Kubrick is my biggest inspiration in film. I want to become an editor when I leave university. Watching his films have been incredible. I love the editing that he used in pretty much all of his films. The Shining is one of my favourite films ever, so he's just incredible for me. The subject of my research, I'm going to be looking at establishing Kubrick as an author that works in different genres, because I think that's probably one of the most impressive things about his films, that he can just work in any genre that he feels like. I'm going to be looking at his influence, so not just the influence that he has on his films, but also what influenced him and how I can look into that and how others can look into that to possibly be inspired by that. I'm going to be looking at the editing process and practices, like I've said, that are in a select few of his case studies. So I'm going to be looking at 2001: Space Odyssey, The Shining, and Full Metal Jacket. So I think they're three good examples of, some of the best examples of his work for the editing wise anyway. My research methods, I'm going to be focusing on qualitative data, like journals, articles, interviews, watching case studies, like I mentioned before, reading books as well. They're going to be sort of, and like internet videos as well, just because I feel like the qualitative data is more important for the topic that I've chosen, as sort of quantitative data like surveys and things like that aren't really going to benefit my outcome. Given the nature of my topic, I'm not going to be aiming to prove or disprove anything. I'm purely just going to be taking a closer look at his methods in the post-production phase. I'm going to be aiming to show the pros and cons of his methods in the editing room, basically towards his manners to the actors and his sort of like stubbornness and things like that. I'm going to aim to structure the information in a way so that editors like me and others can take benefits away and allow it to influence their work. So hopefully I can benefit everyone. I've been unable to find an easily accessible paper that sort of gives across the information that I'm going to be using. And I think that it's important that this sort of information is given to the public. My most useful sources so far, there's a 2-hour interview with Stanley Kubrick that is on YouTube, and that has given me some of the best insight into his mindset, because he's in the interview basically explains all about why he chose to do what he did in certain films, the sort of reasoning behind his thinking and behind his manners, and basically a lot about how he did what he did and why he did it, which I think is very important for my work. There's an article as well, Stanley Kubrick's Obsessiveness and the Meticulous Films It Produced. I think that is a very important article for me, because it, like the 2-hour interview, it basically it shows the reasoning behind his actions and how he was able to do what he did and why he did it. And then another interesting one was Shelley Duvall's traumatic experience in making The Shining, which scarred her for life. That's the title, and it explained behind the incredible record-breaking 127 dialogue take, the record for the longest amount of takes done for a dialogue scene, which was the axe scene in The Shining. And that article raises some interesting points about Kubrick, and I'm going to be using that to influence my outcomes. I've taken a very specific structure approach. I've obviously got the title page, the acknowledgements, abstract, table of contents, introduction, chapters, conclusions, and then the bibliography. So it's a very standard approach. But there are some other papers that I'll be looking at that are kind of similar to my own. So there's the Art of Adaptation through the Analysis of Stanley Kubrick Films, which I think is the closest one I've found to the work that I wanted to do, and that has been a big help for me. I couldn't find the author, but there's the work of Stanley Kubrick. That's a big influence for me, because it basically explains all about some of the reasoning behind what he did in certain films. So this one particularly, Full Metal Jacket, was a big one for me. And how Stanley Kubrick broke the rules of classical Hollywood cinema and made a better film with 2001: Space Odyssey, which again helps me with the case study of 2001: Space Odyssey, and that's by Hans Morgenstern. And this paper again was interesting in the fact that it explained about some of the niches behind the storyline and how Kubrick was able to adapt it from the novel that was being written at the same time. Finally, my anticipated findings. I hope to find Kubrick's most valued editing process and practices. I think that is going to be the biggest piece of information I need from this paper. But I'll also help to find the directing techniques that yielded the best results. So whether that be in the editing room or actually with the actors, it helps influence that. How Kubrick was able to transition to any genre easily. I think this is another important piece of information, because it allows me to find out how he was able to just apply the editing process and practice from one genre and then transition them into a different genre. I think that is probably the most important part for me, actually. And I hope to be able to provide information pertaining to how Kubrick, his editing style, will prove helpful to any sort of aspiring editor, and hopefully I can influence a few people with this paper. Thank you.